Greetings, Neil. Thank you very much for taking time out to conduct this interview today on behalf of the LC Club. If we could start with the first question, Neil. How did you initially get into bike racing, at what age, and who was your mentor during your fledgling years?
I started bike racing at 19. I went to school with two friends of mine, brothers, Alistair and Stuart Ray, and they raced TZ 250s and 350s, mainly in Scotland and the north of England. And I used to go and give them a bit of lift, help them on the stand, give them a bit of a push. And I was interested in racing, but no great desire to go racing. But then the 350 LC arrived. I saw it in Motorcycle News in 1980, and I just knew I needed to own one, not to race, but to go to work on and just caress in my garage at night, really. So I got one of the first bikes that came to Scotland. At the same time, the Scottish ACU decided to have a 500 reduction championship in Scotland, and my friends suggested or encouraged me to have a go. I wasn't particularly fast on the road, but I got round on practice days at Knockhill, okay. So got my licence, got entered and headed off and started doing really well. My LC was good out of the box. I was very lucky. It wasn't tuned by Stan Stevens or Terry Beckett. It was just a good bike out of the box. I was very fortunate. I didn't have any mentors as such when I started racing. I obviously watched Barry Sheene on telly. Kenny Roberts was my big hero. But I could see there was guys south of the border, people like Rob Mack, that had gone from club racing, were actually getting noticed and getting taken on by some of the factory teams. So I thought that is actually possible, because you think, how the hell can that happen? But I could see it was happening, and I guess we all dream of doing it for a living, and I just kept doing what I enjoyed doing. But I knew I wanted to do nothing else except race bikes. In fact, it was the only thing I could do. I've been absolutely crap at everything else in my life, and the LC found me and I found the LC, and that's where it started.
Brilliant. If you can cast your mind back to all of the races that you've taken part in, which biking moment has been like your most triumphant, the one that you really enjoyed the most?
There's been many. I mean, my first race win, which was at Knockhill, that was just incredible. I actually won something again. I won something in my life, and I got this little trophy. I carried it around in my pocket for a fortnight. I couldn't believe it, but I was so chuffed. And I guess that's what gives you the encouragement to carry on. I've had loads of great moments. Still talking about LCs, I won the Pro-Am World Cup here at Donington against a lot of superstars and foreign riders, and that was a huge catapult for my career as well. So that was a special day. My first rostrum, 500 GP rostrum in Austria, that was special. I finished third at the Grand Prix here in '93 at Donington, so that was good, getting up in the rostrum there in front of my home fans. Anytime you win, really, it's special, but these are a few that stand out.
Well, you've been referred to as the best British bike racer since the legendary Barry Sheene. It's high accolade indeed, but have you ever actually met the man himself, and did he pass in any tips to you?
I have met Barry. I became quite good friends with Barry. Our paths crossed 2 or 3 times every year. He finished in '84 and my career was just getting going then. And I did meet him pretty soon after my career took off with the HRC. And he did give me 2 tips. I met him in London at a dinner actually, and he said, Neil, you're going to maybe make a few quid now. He says, buy property in London with everything you've got, and don't get a manager. Well, I didn't ever get a manager, and that worked out okay, but I did make a mistake in not buying any property in London. So I've got to say, anytime I met him, he was fine with me. He's never been guilty of maybe pushing a lot of British riders, but he was always friends with me, and he did give me these 2 tips, and they were genuinely good tips, and maybe I should have taken more notice about the property when I might have had as much money as he had.
Yeah. So what are you doing now to keep yourself busy and the coin rolling in, and what does the future hold for you?
I am very busy, and I add it up at the end of the month, and there's not that much coin rolls in, but it all involves motorbikes, and I never fail to appreciate that I am lucky. I work with Sky Sports commentating on the BSB races. A big part of my life is working with TWO, Two Only magazine. I do a lot of road testing, new bike launches for them, and thoroughly enjoy that. I run track days here at Donington and Knockhill, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But all involving bikes and a lot of fun.
So during the cut and thrust world of LC racing, strong friendship bonds must have been made. Have you kept in touch with any of your old Pro-Am adversaries?
I have actually. I mean, it's really unfortunate because there's a lot of good friends and Pro-Am rivals, and nothing to do with the Pro-Am series, but they're not with us anymore. Kenny Irons, Ray Swan, Neil Robinson, all top riders that I raced with and became good friends with, and they're killed, unfortunately, some of them through racing. One guy I still see is Alan Carter. Alan Carter was a GP rider and raced in Pro-Am races. I raced him quite a bit in the early 80s, so I still speak to Alan Carter. He's still as mad as a box of frogs, and I guess that's why I like him. I think he quit racing too early, but he's still around and still keeps in touch, so it's good to see Alan now and again.
Very good. So then, Neil, where did you get this nickname Spud from?
Spud, there's a certain amount of people that seem to that have clicked onto it. It was actually Randy Mamola that gave me it, and it came from, in America, Budweiser ran an advertising campaign with this ugly little pit bull called Spuds Mackenzie. So he got all this merchandise, brought it over from the States and gave it to me and said, "You're now Spuds Mackenzie." He says, "I love this advert, I love this dog, it's not the prettiest thing," but... And from then on he started calling me Spuds Mackenzie, which was very nice, but it did stick, and I am asked from time to time. Fred Clark, the BSB commentator, still calls me Spuds, and I don't think he knows why, but it does, so anyway, quite amusing.
Yeah, very good. Most racers accumulate injuries during their racing efforts, and it's pretty much regarded as part of the job. So what's the worst injury you've ever sustained?
I think the worst injury was Cadwell Park. I broke my leg there once. I was approaching the bottom of the mountain, hit another rider and actually jumped the bank in the middle and ended up on the other side of the racetrack and to the oncoming traffic, if you like. It was a badly broken leg. I woke up in Louth Hospital and recovered pretty soon afterwards. So I've been fairly fortunate through my career. I mean, lots of concussions, broken wrists and ankles, usual stuff, but nothing exactly life-threatening. But the Cadwell Park one was pretty nasty, and it kept me out of racing for a couple of months.
Oh, well, good to see you back in full health. So now back to the LCs. You might just be able to clear up a little battle that's been raging for quite a while now in the LC world. Currently there are two separate factions in the cult of the LC. One clan supports the P4LO, whereas the opponents worship the Valvey things. So in your learned opinion, Neil, which is the better Pro-Am machine?
Well, I had probably an equal amount of success on both bikes. The early ones are the ones closer to my heart. The first ones that came along, they are fantastic, and the white and blue ones in particular. The Valvey things, I just don't think that they're just not as clean and don't have as much character. But the engine, it's a fantastic engine, and it does give you that extra 5 or 6 mile an hour, and you can feel it as well. Fantastic engine, but no, if I had to choose, I'd choose good old faithful.
So then, out of you and Jamie Whitten, whose LC was the fastest?
Well, there is no question. He would claim that his is more mint than mine, which that's fair enough. Mine is very tidy, but of course mine's fastest because it's blue and white.
So can you tell us mere mortals, out of all the bikes that you've ridden, which one would you say is the most awful and why?
I don't think there's a bad bike out there. If it's got an engine and 2 wheels and you can have a bit of fun with it, whether it's a C90 skidding around in a field or a bike at a track day, I've got to say, racing wise, 1995 I raced the 250 Aprilia, and it was the biggest heap of junk I ever raced. I didn't get through any day without one problem, whether it be practice or a race, and it really finished my GP career just because I had such a bad season. There was lots promised that year, and it just didn't happen. And my best result at Donington Park, at 6th position at Donington Park, which was okay at British Grand Prix, but it really was a frustrating year, and it was a year-long catastrophe. So I've got to say that 250 Aprilia. I'm a big fan of Aprilias. That one didn't work out for me.
Very nice. Now then, Neil, you have a paperback autobiography about yourself, out for a while now, and it's a really good read, so here's your chance to give it a good plug.
There's never an interview goes past without a book plug, is there? Whether it be TV, radio or Donington Park pit lane. Yeah, I have got an autobiography. It's got a really interesting name. It's called Niall Mackenzie, the Autobiography. But it does chart my life from childhood to getting my first LC, all the Pro-Am shenanigans and club racing, all the way through my GP years and right up to where I am now. And I think for $6.99, if you get onto Amazon, you can still get one of the last copies. The best Christmas present you could ever imagine.
Agreed.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. In all the classes you've raced in, who was the most difficult opponent and why?
I think Michael Doohan. Michael Doohan was the most difficult. Obviously a huge talent, 500 World Championships. And I was friends with him as well, but I knew how much effort he put in training-wise. He had the talent, but he'd trained twice a day, every day of the year, including Christmas Day, and I just knew how much he wanted it. I mean, he was a complete... He just disregarded everything else in his life apart from racing, and I kind of quite liked having the family and not any hobbies, because I was totally dedicated to my job, but he could shut out everything. Nothing else mattered. No one else mattered. He wanted it more than anything. And then he was a hard man to race with and a hard man to beat, as everyone found out. So, but I'm privileged to count him as one of my friends. Still is my friend. Our paths cross now and again. But absolutely awesome. I mean, Valentino Rossi, I'm a huge fan of. But as an equal, Michael Doohan, certainly talent-wise, was right there.
Yeah, do you have any funny tales of your life on the race circuit? You know, especially we've heard a rumour of you mooning through a restaurant window at fellow racers, you know, who were dining inside. Is there any truth to this rumour?
Yeah, there's lots of funny stories. I guess, and I know exactly which one you're talking about. That was at the Northwest 200, I think, in 1984 when I was riding for Armstrong. And it was a perfectly innocent moon through. I could see some I think it was Dunlop guys that were actually looking out, and some riders. So I thought, I'll give them a quick moon on the way past, as you do. Well, as quick as I got my pants down, there was a bag over my head, and I was in the back of I think it's the RUC, the Royal Ulster Constabulary. I was in the back of the van and in the nick, and it was quite frightening. I thought I'd joined the Masons or something, but anyway, the Dunlop guys saw what happened and then came along and bailed me out. It was just a young innocent lad having a laugh, but they didn't take too kindly to it. So that was my first experience in Northern Ireland racing, and I knew not to do that again. But it's funny now, it wasn't funny at the time.
No, they don't have a sense of humour, do they?
Yeah,
strange, no? So when you were racing, what mental preparations do you make seconds before launching off the line?
Well, one of my jobs now involves the Risley Suzuki team, and my job there is team performance coordinator, and that means working with the riders from a rider's eye view, if you like. But sitting on the grid, sitting on the lineup for the first race, you've just got to be focused. You've got to have gathered all the information through practice. You've got to have a plan, obviously making a good start, but also a plan for the first corner or the first lap, just giving yourself the best opportunity. There are occasions when you sit there and think, I hope I just make it around the first corner in one piece, or is this going to be the big one? But as soon as the lights change you're off. But you do rehearse and prepare before you actually get out onto the line, so it's a case of just being in computer mode there. You get out there and then you just do what comes natural. But for sure you need to have a plan, and as Alex Ferguson says, you've got to prepare to win.
Very nice. Yeah, so you've two young sons, Taylor and Taryn. Do you intend to encourage them into the bike racing, or you've got to let them choose their own paths?
I'm not bothered about encouraging them into bike racing. They ride, and they ride really well, but I want them to ride and have fun with bikes. That's how I started, that's why we all start doing it, just to have big smiles. And I struggle as a parent, because it's obviously me that's going to put them on the grid, and then they're going to get hurt, whether it's motocrossing, road racing, whatever, and when it's your own flesh and blood, I find that quite difficult at the moment. But if they come begging to go racing, then I'm the man to help them. It's the only thing I know about, so I can definitely give them a good hand, and if they desperately want to do it, then I'll support them.
So finally, Neil, what advice would you give to folks who fancy doing a bit of racing for themselves?
There's only one answer to that, and that's do it. If it's in your mind, it doesn't matter what age, what ability, get yourself out there and race, because track days are fantastic, but there is nothing like packing your van up, getting your bike ready for the weekend, getting it scrutineered, getting signed on, the whole build-up, practice, getting ready for race day. You don't get any of that stuff on a track day. Track days are brilliant for racing your bike round, but it doesn't matter if you don't go fast, it doesn't matter if you don't put any effort in. But the focus on the race weekend, be it a club race or whatever, is just a fantastic experience. And you need to get it out of your system if you think about doing it, and you won't regret it. So get it done. Just don't even think about it. Just get a license, get a cheap bike, and just go and do it. And you can do it for not a lot of money. Obviously, if you want to be competitive and make your way up through the ranks, then it's going to get costly. But if it's purely for an experience, then you just need to to get your licence from the ACU, get yourself sorted out and go and do it. Fantastic. I can't recommend it enough.
Well, thank you very much for the interview, Neil, for taking the time out, and on behalf of the LC Club and Nick and Don and myself, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Mate.
Thanks for coming.
Cheers.
Pleasure. Thank you.